Hey guys, 66 here, and I know I haven't uploaded in a while. Don't worry, tier list part 3 will come, alright? We won't get bans for a while, I have time. But it's a new format, new me. Ban list was just tiny, so I didn't even make a video on it. I didn't think there was a need to. And Burst of Destiny just completely changes this game, alright? One of the best sets in the history of the game. Number 1, I think, is Invasion of Chaos. Number 2, Magic Ruler. And number 3 is between this, Duelist Alliance, and Rise of the Tachyon Galaxy. That's how insane Burst of Destiny is. And because it's so insane, we gotta just make a full-on meta discussion before the format even starts, and then see where it goes from there. I think that there are 3 major decks out of BODE that are all insane and all top-tier potential. One is swordsoul, another is floowandereeze, and the other one's Live Twins. I know Live Twins gets 1 card, but that 1 card pushes them completely over the edge. And then on top of that, we also have overpowered generic cards, like Destroy Phoenix Enforcer and Heavenly Prison, I think it's called. It was Sky Prison before, but Heavenly Prison. Insane, and we're going to be going over all of that today. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. No idea if my throat's going to be able to handle talking so much. So first up, we have swordsoul. This is my pure swordsoul build with Destroy Phoenix Enforcer and Tennies. Still call this pure because the engine can't get that big, let's be honest. And because I have more insane variants. Swordsoul is a very good deck, so I want to be sort of brief but also be in-depth with each deck we're going over here. We're definitely not doing the card by card. The reason swordsoul is so good is because your extra deck and your main deck just have insane plus potential. Deck's super linear, has a lot of space, you can play a lot of flex, you can play a lot of what you want to play, and you can also end on decently sized boards. Moya is obviously the main thing of this deck. You normal this, get a tuner, and then you make a synchro. You get a free draw off the Moya, and then you get a free add off the synchro. The synchro is insane. And then you also have a negate off the synchros. That's like immediately plus a whole bunch. This synchro is insane. What you do is you add swordsoul. You usually want to add Blackout. Blackout is the best card in this deck. I want to make that clear. Blackout is what makes swordsoul such a good deck. It's not your Barone, I guess it's the TCG name. It's not even the efficiency of your synchro plays. It's just the fact that Chixiao can search Sunshift, Blackout. Yeah, Blackout's the TCG name. And Blackout's ridiculous. This thing's Icarus attack, and that just beats people. Like, this will just beat people by itself. If you get hand trapped and you draw this, you just set it and you win a lot of the time. It's ridiculous how broken this card is. Pop 2. Pop 2 is insanely powerful. And then has a graveyard effect on top of that. Card's ridiculous. So you get this down, and then your synchros are negates. This is an Omni. And you just have all these plays, and any 2 monsters go into Verte, or better yet, just draw Fusion Destiny. You can make Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, pop even more. Tons of grave advantage, recursion with Vashuda, with Adhara, with Celestial. It's like a combo deck with less board presence than, say, Drytron or Endymion, but with 1 extra turn of insane pop-up potential. Ridiculous consistency, very simplistic. Doesn't lose to that many hand traps. You get hurt by hand traps. You get hurt by like a lot of hand traps. But you don't hard lose to any at the same time. So, going into a replay here, I open a pretty cracked hand. And I just want to show off what the deck can do. Emergence. Moya. And it's a combo I'm talking about, just Chixiao. In this case, I drew Blackout, so I get to search Lumion, which just gives me an extra negate. And yeah, this deck's very simple. So I put up stuff, and I set, and I end. I have Fusion Destiny here. I didn't use it because I built the deck wrong. I didn't put a viable target. I put the wrong Destiny here, okay? So I couldn't make Phoenix Enforcer here, but assuming you built the deck right, you will be able to. So that's Monster Negate, Omni Negate, pop anything, and then you pop 2, and then in this case, I don't play hand traps. I also have Solemn Strike and Droplet, so nothing's beating that. This is just a free win against basically every deck. Oh, it's a heavy spell trap deck. That's another thing with Blackout. It completely dunks on spell trap decks. If you're playing a spell trap deck, you lose to Blackout. Like, you need some way to deal with it, and if you don't, they're just gonna pop 2 of your back row. So your set 5 turns into set 3. And then Phoenix pops another, so your set 5 is now set 2. And unless they just pop your Eldritch cards and they all float, you lose. So that's Sword Soul. Very simple deck. Just the game plan here, just play. And on the topic of Sword Soul, I also have Trap Sword Soul. This one I'm not confident in, but it's just like Sunshift's so broken that maybe it's good. A lot more tweaking to do with this one. And more importantly, I think, Pendulum Sword Soul. This deck's ridiculous. Definitely not perfected on the deck list yet. I kind of don't know what I'm doing with this still. But the idea here is that your Sword Soul engine's tiny. You only do so much with it. And you end up with a lot of advantage that you can't use very effectively, right? You end up with cards that don't do that much. You end up with just extra normal summons in your hand. And you play a lot of staples, but sometimes those staples just aren't good in the matchup, right? Droplets is not very good in the Eldritch matchup. Talent is not good if they don't have monster effects on your turn. So you have these problems where your staples don't do that much, or maybe you're just bricking, and Sword Soul can run into these issues, and I like Pendulums a lot. So I thought that Pendulums might be able to sort of ease on these issues, and I actually looked for a bad hand in this case. I looked for a awful hand, because I kept just drawing Servant. It's like, well, it's 60, I can't expect to draw Servant. So I reset the hand like 4 times to get this bad hand. Look, I'm not even doing that much here. How's this deck gonna pop off? Well, the thing is, this deck's ridiculous, so it pops up anyways. In this situation, you sort of do lose to a hand trap. That's because the hand sucked. Better hand, you would beat hand traps as well. And even in this case, this is a ridiculous amount of negates. I end up drawing really bad at the end here as well, but it doesn't even matter. Here, just reveal this. You have enough worms because we play Zephyros. Literally the reason to play Zephyros is so Moe resolves more. And look at this, bro. I'm ending with 4 cards in hand, a monster negate, 2 pops, an Omni negate, and Celine can bring back, I think it was a Jackal actually, so Celine gets me another negate. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negates, insane follow-up through a garbage hand, and I drew Talent, so I would actually beat hand traps with that hand as well. Just goes to show that this deck is more than viable. This deck is actually very strong. Like, look at this. You can just open pen hands. You can open Sword Soul hands. And because your Sword Soul engine is so small, there's a low chance of it actually messing you up. I think this deck has a ton of potential, and this might actually be the best deck this format. All of these decks have a chance of being the best deck this format, which is why I'm going over all of them. As you can see, though, the extra deck is incomplete. I want to play Destroy Phoenix, but I'm not sure if it's any good in this build, so there's a lot more to do here. Our next contender is floowandereeze. This deck has to be played pure. I'm not very confident in this deck, in my ability to build it. I think this deck's insanely broken, but I'm not quite finding the build I want. The combo is very simple, and you go off and you win. It's a really easy deck in that sense, but also a very complex deck. Because your engine's not that big, you have a lot of flex, and you lose pretty hard to interruption. But at the same time, you have infinite grind game, because all your cards literally come back forever. I think they never stop. Your board is ridiculous. Your only weakness is that your deck's frail, so you're just getting around that as much as possible. So you can play Talent, you can play tons of staples. You don't use the extra decks, you can play extra. You don't special summon, you can play duality. There's so much that this deck can do. You can play on the opponent's turn with your trap. And even this, to an extent, the opponent has to normal summon. This card's ridiculous as well. This deck can do so much that it's very difficult to optimize. It's difficult to say, play these staples to beat all hand traps and then you win the game. And another thing is that because it doesn't special summon, it plays around a lot. It plays around the Scythe, right? You don't use your extra deck. It plays around these different things, and it means you can also play your own floodgates. You can play D-Shifter. D-Shifter is like the best card in the game, and this deck can play D-Shifter without a care in the world, which means 30% of games, you just win outright with that one D-Shifter. So to show off the combo with a weird looking hand, I just did the first hand in this case, because it wasn't so broken I had to reset it. And like this deck just goes off and you just win the game. It's very simple. And sometimes it's difficult to see, just how broken the board is, because you plus and you play on the opponent's turn. So in this case, we go M-Pen, get City of Dreams, set and pass. But notice we have a droplet, we have City of Dreams, we have M-Pen. M-Pen like locks their Link Monster effects, very powerful card, forces them to summon in defense as well. And then City of Dreams is, it can flip all your opponent's monsters face down. So Links can't use their effects, and then non-Links just get completely effed. So City of Dreams, very good. Well, this seems outable until you realize that this lets me play on the opponent's turn. So what I would do is I would use this. I can normal summon my Stretch. Stree apparently is a TCG name. I can normal my Stree. This can get rid of a card from their graveyard. And then I can normal Eaglin, and then Eaglin can get me a Ryza, which will then allow me to deal with even more of what the opponent has. Ryza can clear multiple cards off the field, or I can get Apex Avian, and I get to plus, and then all my banished cards go back to my hand. So I have infinite grind game. I have an unbeatable board. I can at least survive. And then the next turn, I can play even more. I can plus even more. This deck can plus forever by just recurring. Everything you play comes back to your hand every single turn, including the opponent's turn. That's what makes this deck so insane. But the weakness is that you can get interrupted, right? You can normal Robina, and it can get Veilered. And if you don't have a way to extend, you pass turn. And if you don't have City of Dreams, you can't even play on the opponent's turn. Or they have another hand trap when you do try to play on the opponent's turn. Has that aspect of fragility where if the opponent is playing heavy hand traps and also OTKs, you lose. But if they're playing a grind deck, you can outgrind them, right? If they're playing traps, you're fine. You lose your turn, sure, you just outgrind them. If they don't have enough interruptions to stop your play, and they're playing that heavy combo deck that's supposed to be good against you, instead they just lose to your M-Pen, to your City of Dreams. So this is a hit and miss deck, but I think it hits a lot more than it misses, and it's so good into so many matchups. Because people just aren't prepared for this, and even if they are prepared for it, decks just aren't prepared for this, right? Decks aren't built to handle infinite normal summons, which is what this deck is. There are threats, right? You can't get interrupted, but at the same time, you can play go second cards in the main deck because you have so much space. You can play ridiculously powerful cards like Duality. Duality's Prosperity, but like better. This card's better than Prosperity. In this deck, you don't feel that restriction. Combo Floowandereeze is an insane deck, and also trap Floowandereeze. It's a very similar concept where you try to do the exact same thing, but in this case, you play traps. So your goal going second is to set a whole bunch of traps and use these traps to clear the opponent's board. And the nice thing here is that you can play all the floodgates. You can play Rivalry, you can play Macrocosmos, you can play Dimension Fissure if you want. And what ends up happening is that if you go first, you literally just set traps and win. And there's not much the opponent can do about it. And if you go second, you draw a D-Shifter, you win. Or you can hope they sort of mess up or their board's not that impressive and play through it. Or you just do this, right? Pretend I'm going second here with 5 cards. Set 2, pass turn. On the opponent's turn, I can mess them up with my traps. And I can use City of Dreams to play on the opponent's turn once I've exhausted their negates, which is very powerful, obviously, because you play on the opponent's turn, you get out M-Pen, and all of a sudden you're in this commanding position. And because you don't use the extra deck, you can abuse cards like Punishment with absolutely no repercussion to speak of. There's a lot going for this. But I think the problem with this is that you do struggle going second with this trap build, right? Traps are incredibly powerful going second, but you run the risk of A, not drawing a Flunder, which you can see here, and B, not drawing enough traps. If you draw half traps and half combo pieces, going second, you're going to lose, right? Because you're not going to be able to get through their negates with your combo pieces, you're forced to set your traps, but you don't have enough traps to actually deal with their board, so then you lose. That is a problem, but I feel like a lot of the time, you will be able to get away with this. And this deck still needs a ton of optimization, a ton of tweaking. Well, another problem with this is because you're playing traps, your combo ends up being smaller. And when your combo's smaller, you sort of have less ability to go into these big monsters, or you just only draw one Flunder. You can't sustain that loop forever. You're just not drawing to Flunders. You don't have the extra, you don't have the duality. And in that situation, the opponent can sort of punch through you once you've used all your traps because you're not able to combo forever like you can with the combo version. So there are faults here, but I think this is an incredibly powerful deck. I think floowandereeze might be the best deck. And in the case that they are, play Crossout, side Crossout. Crossout does not need to be used on Talon, on Ash Blossom, on Droplet, on Veiler, on Imperm. Not it. Of course, it can be used on those things, but a much more powerful way of using this card is to use it in the mirror match, specifically with Flunders and Sword Souls. Because in the case of these decks, there are main deck threats that you want to negate that also benefit you when you banish them from your own deck. In the case of Sword Soul, it's obviously Sudden Shift, Blackout. In the case of Flunders, any of your little guys. You negate theirs, get yours in the banish zone, and immediately add it back when you summon anything. That's incredibly powerful, and Crossout will decide games in the mirror match. So if Flunders are meta, which I don't think they will be, because I don't think people are respecting it enough. I don't think people like it very much. This deck absolutely hates itself in the mirror match. You have infinite grind game, but they have infinite grind game. You have all these floodgates, but they don't care about the floodgates. They're impervious to your floodgates. So there is this conflict in the mirror match where it's a very miserable mirror match. So having that advantage is actually pretty important because you get into this situation where you don't know what to do against them. And next up, the last new deck we're going to be covering is Live Twins. I believe that Live Twins are an incredibly powerful deck off the back of one card, Trouble Sunny. This card's insane. It does everything the deck ever wants. And the Live Twin combo is so simple. All you need is one starter. So let's say we go passphrase here, or password. Get this. Boom, Trouble Sun. And you play extenders. This is sort of the Triff variant, though we're still working on it. We're obviously not done yet. Where you play a billion hand traps and you play all the Live Twin cards you can to have extenders in case you get hand trapped at any point. And this combo is so incredibly simple. You just go Link, and then you revive, and then you go other Link, and then you revive, and then you draw a card for free, because that's fun, and then you go big Link at the end of your turn. Very simple strategy. And then on the opponent's turn, what this card does is you distribute it, and then summon both of these guys back, and you got a draw and a pop. So you have a draw here. So you draw two, but then Frost also has the effect where if they add anything, which most decks will, you get another draw, so it's draw three and a pop off a normal summon, which obviously that's ridiculous. And then on top of that, on the next turn, Trouble Sunny has a grave effect, which can non-target send a card that they control to the graveyard by sending either one of these links from your field, or by sending this guy from the main deck. This guy's a huge brick, but it might be worth it to have that free send constantly off the back of your Trouble Sunny. This deck's ridiculous. This is like the maximum extender hand trap version to just grind with the Live Twins themselves, because you do have a sort of a problem with finishing in this deck. There's a lot you can do though, because you do summon quite a bit of links. You can make access code plays, Unicorn. Phoenix and Cerberus are both good in this because you can actually draw off of them. Very nice. And there's a bit of flexibility in the extra deck, but for the most part, just play 3 of all your twins and then play some removal cards. Side deck's interesting here. You can just sign into other hand traps for different matchups. You can sign into Lancia, you can sign into Droll. You can't sign into D-Shifter, sadly, but that's whatever. Droll does kind of hurt yourself if you're going first, but whatever. Not like you're siding for going first. And you can play Duster, you can play Lightning Storm. Like, it's such a simple deck, but such a powerful deck, because any Live Twin just gets you full combo, and then you win. And you're going second pressure, just hand trap them, don't let them make their board, and then hopefully your twin combo resolves. There's fault here, but there's enough extenders between everything to make it work out. The other deck I've been messing around with is Dogma Live Twins and Live Twin Eldritch. So first up, Dogma Live Twins. If you're still here, good job. This deck is insane and I absolutely love it. So it's called Twin Pile. That's why I titled it. You know that Dogma Invoke Shaddoll deck? Just play that with Live Twins. It's that simple. Because Trouble Sunny is a grave effect. So it's like it's a Dogma target. And you don't actually lock yourself out. What your twin links say is that you cannot special summon anything but Fiends from the extra deck. But you can still go Ecclesias, Maximus, and then Schism on the opponent's turn. It doesn't stop you from doing that at all. So first hand here, these decks are so linear that I don't even see the point in making a replay for my combo. I'd rather just do it live to show that it's the first hand I got. I'm not fudging the results in any way. This hand's incredibly cracked though, so I'm kind of am, honestly. And in the case where this gets hand trapped, you just go All Mirage, Secure Gardener. Make sure you can resolve this at least. And that's enough to win. Think about it, bro. Winda, Schism, plus, 3 hand traps. Most people aren't dealing with that. So in this case, you actually make the All Mirage, just so you have the link to banish. You can have both of these up. For your Mighty Trouble Sunny. So the theory behind this, right, is that Trouble Sunny is just a better card than Makaba. And that it's better to draw multiple twins than to draw multiple invoked. And that this is better grind game. And that's just a better deck. This deck can basically do everything the invoked Shaddoll deck can do, with differences, and I think that this is better than what the invoked version can do. In many ways, it's better. And I have no opponent on, so can't use Maximus, but in the case where the opponent has an extra deck, you would do is send Apcolone, send Ash Dragon, so you got floowandereeze, Wind on the opponent's turn, on top of Evil Twin Trouble Sunny, getting me both of these back, giving me a draw and a pop, and another draw when they add anything, and 3 hand traps. Who's beating that, right? Obviously, there's a situation where you can't full combo, but as you can see, there's a lot of situations where you can full combo. And you have more ways to Trouble Sunny than you have to Alistair, right? What's the thing? Triple Meltdown, Terraforming, Triple Alistair. 7 ways, and then technically you can play Small World, but you won't want to do that. How much do you have in this deck? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Boom, 9 ways just to Lilla, and then playing Kiss a Kill as well, so you have more, you have 11. So this is just better. And maybe you can find space for other cards in here as well, but this is the list for now. Prone to optimization, but the idea is very simple. Play a bunch of hand traps, play a bunch of power cards, play Dogmas, play Live Twins, and do your Live Twin combo, then do your Dogma combo. Like, it's that simple. It's such a simplistic deck. Such a nice deck. I really love this one. Might be one of the best picks. Especially because this is better than Natis. It doesn't target. And it doesn't destroy. This is so good. And the other Live Twin deck I have is Live Twin Eldritch. Surprisingly, I've been having difficulty making this deck work quite like I want to. Lord of the Heavenly Prison is like the best card in the set, honestly. This card's so freaking unfair. It's ridiculous. We side Duster now because, believe it or not, this card can just give me Feather Duster. Like, okay, nice. You can also just give me a Live Twin. That's why I'm playing 1 Golden Lord. In the case where they get rid of my Golden Lord, if I prison, I can just add this and Live Twin grind game them, which is like fine. So I actually have more copies of Live Twins here than you think, at least in grind game. If it gets hand trapped, it's a bit of a problem, whereas normal Eldritch can never get hand trapped. But in this situation where you go first, you just always win. Like, these traps, no one can deal with these traps if they're going second. If you're going second, this deck's a bit worse than like standard Eldritch, but you're still fine. Blackout is a huge problem. If they have Blackout plus Baroness, I can't even like Sky Prism through it. Heavenly Prism through it. So that's a problem. But anything other than that, I just don't care. I just set 5 and murder them. Phoenix Enforcer means nothing. I have 5 sets. You can deal with one of them. Cool story, bro. Like, it's not a threat. I don't know why I'm such a freaking idiot and not playing Punishment in this deck, honestly. Punishment's probably better than Judgment. Yeah. Trouble Sunny, bro. Broken card. Well, I'm not playing the main deck Evil Twin, so maybe not. If I were, obviously, playing Punishment in here. 60 card build. This build obviously should be playing Punishment. Like, I guess I just don't have brain cells sometimes. That's like a problem. I really would like some more brain cells so I could be like, oh yeah, obviously you just play Punishment because you have a built-in Nitis in your archetype. Duh. There you go. Back to this one though. This deck's insanely good. You just see the test hands, you go off. Going first, this deck auto wins. You have more grind game than regular Eldritch thanks to the twins. And Prism, just ridiculous. And then here's your side deck pattern. This is what you do when you're going second against monsters. You put in the second Golden Lord, which seems stupid because it's like a brick, but it just gives you more grind game without needing this entire engine. And yeah, that's your side pattern. You side out every single twin, and you put in just a whole bunch of side deck cards, and then you're good, right? You just put in 3 Sphere Mode, 3 Lava Golem, and 3 Broken Line. If you draw any of these 6, you auto win, going second. And even if you draw the Broken Line or something, it's still fine. It's pretty simple, isn't it? And here's your side pattern against traps or whatever you're dealing with. I did it wrong again. You just do this, you know. You just do that. And then you just side out your torrentials and your needle ceilings. Or strikes if you're feeling those are worse than your torrentials in the matchup. Right, and boom, there you go. And remember, dusts are searchable because this card's not okay. You have more grind game than them. Might just want to put in the Golden Lord if they don't lose to Imperial Order. More grind game, right? Doesn't matter against trap deck, they're not OTKing you. And there you go. And now you win. So it's so simple what you have to do in this deck. It's hilarious. Going first, you beat everything. Going second post-side, you beat everything. That's the idea behind this. And going second pre-side, you still win against a lot, but you do lose to some things. And that's the deck. Like, I mean, it doesn't get simpler than that. Full live twin combo, and then set traps. Like, that's all there is to this deck. And this outs Dragoon, which Dragoon might still exist with Phoenix Enforcer. We'll see. If it does, you need this to deal with it. You have 6 main deck outs to Feather Duster, and like 1 more on the side. Granted, it might not be enough. You might want to play some weird stuff like the GG Easy. We'll see. Maybe that's there, but I don't think you need it. Especially when you have Trouble Sunny, to where they Feather Duster you, you still have a pop and a draw. So if they can't OTK you through a pop, they still lose, which is hilarious. That's insane. Like, they don't, if they're playing Sword Soul and they get a card pop, they probably can't OTK you. And then you draw a card, and your Eldritch Graveyard effects resolve, and you get more live twin combo next turn, and all of a sudden, you're still winning through a Feather Duster. That's insane. That's live twin Eldritch. Another deck we're looking at is pure Eldritch. Floodgate Eldritch. This is the build. Fleld. No live twins in here. But, as you can see, we're playing just a freaking whack load of Floodgates. There can be only one's a fine card. It seems like it's hot garbage, right? Because it's like, well, you only play zombies, basically, in Sky Prison, I guess. So what are you going to do? There can be only one. You can't summon multiple monsters. And that's where the kicker is. You don't need to summon multiple monsters. You just sit on this forever. And the opponent, if they're stuck on something they don't want, they just lose. Like, instantly. They just lose. And these floodgates are insane going second. Even something like the swordsoul deck, which basically just makes worms, they're still forced to deal with this using their negates. Otherwise, their one Baroness, which is not a worm, last time I checked, or their Phoenix Enforcer, will go away. So they have to deal with rivalry still. So even decks that are monotypes still lose to rivalry. Decks that are mono attributes still lose to ghosts, and because their extra deck is oftentimes going to contain different types of attributes. A problem this deck will face is Phantom Knights. Well, the problem with Phantom Knights is, aside from Phoenix Enforcer, it's just all monster negates. So you actually don't care, and eventually, between Sky Prison, Needle Sealing, Torrential, you'll deal with everything they have. And you outgrind them with your Eldritch. So, you're in a fine position there. And yeah, these floodgates just destroy everything. Like, who in the world, even if you're going second, like, you set these 5. What's their answer aside from like main deck Feather Duster, right? Yeah, you go second. You set these 5 and attempt to activate Sky Prison. What's the opponent gonna do? You think they can deal with that? No, not like basically nothing can deal with that, right? Like look at this. You just always draw one of your Gozen, Rivalry, Needle Sealing, Torrential, and even though there can be only one shuts down yourself, it actually doesn't matter. This deck just works. And if they're stuck on a main deck monster, let's say you sort of clear their board and they try to normal summon to get out of it and you flip this on them, they're stuck on a normal summon and you just put Golden Lord in defense position and there's nothing they can do. Actually nothing. It's like, this is basically Mystic Mine at that point. They can't clear it. And you just deck them out because you don't combo, and they did. So they use deck resources, and you just sit on Golden Lord. Ridiculous. This deck is unfairly good. Unfairly good. We do still want to look at Pure Endymion. Pure Endymion is still completely and utterly overpowered, and I'll give a replay to prove it. First hand I had. Did not comb through it to find this. This is the first hand. And I'm doing a replay instead of a live showcase because it takes a while. It takes a while. This hand, the opening's pretty cracked here, but like, I don't think I played it perfectly. I might have made a couple small mistakes, and also my later draws weren't the best. And this deck really does rest on its later draws because you just draw into more draw. Your best opening is 5 draw cards. Or 4 draw cards and a servant, and then you draw into more draw cards, and then you draw into what you want. But yeah, just, like, I can do whatever I want, it's Pendulum. Endymion is still completely overpowered. And if you don't believe me, I mean, just watch what I'm able to do with this deck. I end up in an awkward situation here. My Desires doesn't help me out very much, but I just do that. Good old make Apo, make Monster Sound. And yeah, from here I can do whatever I want. Boom, boom. Absolute, cross shape. Like, Endymion's still Endymion. Nothing's really changed. And if draw is less play, this is easily the best deck. Look at that. And right hand. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight up negates. I have stuff for Selena Summons, that's 5 negates. And then this, and then I have Apollosa. Which, it's 4 materials, so that's not 1 negate. Alright, two materials that count as 1 negate. This is 4 materials. I can use this and it'll still be at 24. This is 2 negates. This is at least 2 negates worth of value. Alright, so I have 7 negates off that. Just straight up 7 negates. Just casually. First hand with Endymion, casually. 7 negates. And basically everything's like this. If you draw a restage, it's 7 negates. If you don't draw a restage, it's still 6. If you draw a restage in a good situation, you can do the Apo play and get 8. So you hover between 6 and 8 negates if you don't get hand trapped. And you can actively play around hand traps by just drawing Servant. Drawing Servant lets you get Jackal, which plays around hand traps. I mean, like, do I have to explain myself? If you get hand trapped, you're playing up 5. If you don't, you're putting between 6 and 8 negates. Who's beating that? As long as it's not draw, you win the game. And this deck going second is insane as well. You have so many spells. How many spell trap negates are people putting up? Honestly. This deck can chunk through negates. There are things it struggles against, right? It does struggle against Blackout. Blackout's so good. It's dealing with the best decks in the game. Blackout is a very good card. This deck does struggle against Blackout because they can pop both your scales, and that's really bad. But at the same time, that's 2 cards that they dealt with their 1 trap, and you can play through that still. Right? This deck can come back from that. Doesn't lose to it instantly. That's another weakness of Floud, is that you're only second against Blackout. It's actually a threat. Like, you set these 5, but then they pop 2 of them with their Blackout, and then they use their boy. They use the Phoenix Enforcer on the other one. Now you're left with 2 sets, and now it's kind of a struggle, even if one of them can float, right? Yeah, you can set 5 overpowered traps, but if they can deal with them before you can activate them, that is a threat. Heavenly Prison helps with that. Heavenly Prison helps with that because it says they can't be destroyed. But they can Baroness this. So, not that simple. So that is a threat. But I don't think it's such a huge threat that this deck isn't still one of the best decks in the game. I will definitely be testing this more against new meta. If any of these end up being the best deck, or I perfect it further, I can make a whole video profiling any of these decks, right? This is just the overview. This is not the card by card. And the last deck I would like to discuss as a main topic is Magicians. Magicians are honestly one of the best Phoenix Enforcer decks. It sounds weird, but here's why. If you guys don't know what Magicians do, just watch Shrift. Watch Shrift's Magician videos, he gets it. He'll explain it better than me. Phoenix Enforcer allows you to do a lot with Magicians. First of all, it allows you to turn random Magician cards into a good interruption. Secondly, it gives you grind game. So that's what Enforcer sort of does for every deck, though. Lets you turn spare monsters into this powerful boss monster. Gives you later advantage with Celestial. Cool, right? But that's what it's doing for every deck. What does it uniquely do for Magicians, right? Why are Magicians better at Phoenix Enforcer than even something like maybe Sword Soul? Why do I think that? It's because of the additional synergy. So first of all, Double Iris. If Double Iris is on field, you can Phoenix Enforcer to Double Iris. And when you Phoenix Enforcer to Double Iris, it will give you Pendulum Graph. That's nice. So if you have on-field Double Iris that you can't put in scale for whatever reason, Enforcer lets you get Pendulum Graph. Cool. What else? The Pendulum Graph. When you pop a Magician, if you do not have Time Star, and if you do not have Pen Call up, you only get 1 pop. But the way Pendulum Graph works is that if you can get rid of one of the cards it's targeting before the effect resolves, it will send another card. Guess what? Phoenix Enforcer can rig it such that you get rid of one of your Time Pendulum Graph targets, and when you get rid of one of your Time Pendulum Graph targets, it will get rid of another card. So it has this very powerful synergy with Time Pendulum Graph and Double Iris, which makes it much better than just a pure blank Phoenix Enforcer. Next, this deck runs Scythe, and decks that run Scythe like to use Phoenix Enforcer to pop the Scythe. But in the case of this deck, you don't need the Phoenix Enforcer to pop the Scythe. You already have access to Tornado Dragon and Wonder Magician off your Hulk to pop the Scythe, which means that it opens up your Phoenix Enforcer to actually be doing its own thing, rather than being a slave to activate this card, which in certain matchups, like Thunder matchup, don't do anything at all. So I think that Phoenix Enforcer is in a unique spot in Magicians, where it's even better than it is in other decks. Now we're going to run a test in, and we're going to see what happens. In this situation, your alliance... can't Sork if I Pen Call, which is kind of annoying. I can do Star, maybe. Oh, that's actually a quite tough situation. Don't like it. I'm not an expert at Magicians. I haven't played this deck nearly as much as I've played Endymion, and it shows. I don't quite know what I'm doing. But as long as I don't completely botch this, I should at least give a reasonable demonstration of what this deck is capable of. If I completely botch it, my bad. Scaling this is not the worst thing. Like, you lose the endgame and Vase Search, but it's actually a really good scale as well. Now I attempt to see how badly I botched this whole thing out. I know I go Hawk here, but I'm not gonna. Actually, Phoenix Enforcer might open me up to playing more copies of Pendulum Call, which is something I obviously want to do because Pendulum Call is a very powerful card. Kind of regret not having the second guy, not gonna lie. Not having the second Celestial in deck. Okay, in this case, I'm gonna go to Hulk. Here. Oh, I didn't do that very well, did I? No, that's fine. Just rotate on top here, or do a Celine play if I really want to. Oh, if I made Time Star earlier. Duh, if I made Time Star earlier, I have Souls like a Celine back a Jackal. Which would be kind of nice, but... in this situation, I'll just take this. Yeah, that works, right? Boom, trigger both. I don't think Double Iris has any timing problems. Yeah, no, it's an F. Pengraph. This comes down, so I have 2 pops off the Pengraph. This board doesn't seem that intimidating, but then you realize it very much is intimidating. So here we have a pop with Phoenix Enforcer, 2 pops with Pengraph because we activate Pencall, so that's 3 pops. And then additionally, if I'm not even... Yeah, I can also use Pengraph to get Scythe, right? So I'm not even scared of Dark Ruler here. I can go for the sort of more risky play. I can Wonder Magician, my own Scythe. So they can't use the extra deck. They're dealing with 3 pops and an Omni. Tell me which deck is effectively handling that. Right? Tell me which deck is effectively handling 3 pops and an Omni negate? Like, please inform me. And then next turn, I have a setup extra deck. I have 2 draws coming from the Celestial. I have full scales that cannot be destroyed. And I have Celestial scale effect. I should have used Oath the previous turn, so I have Harmel in hand as well. And this says I can also bring back cards. Like, what's dealing with this? This deck is absurd. This deck is so powerful. And in terms of going second pressure, I mean, you have it. You have it. You have these cards. You have plus, you have a bunch of spells, you have power cards, you have everything. This deck is insane. So Magicians have a very good chance of being the best deck post-mode. Abusing Phoenix Enforcer more so than even the decks that should be abusing the most, like Phantom Knights. People say Phantom Knights could be tier 1? Tell me, what's better? Time Pengraph? Barone? And actually being able to use your pop on your own Phoenix Enforcer? Or having 3 Scar Fog Blades? Which one's better? Please explain. Please explain. I didn't even play that out well. I didn't even play that out in an effective fashion. And I was able to pull off that. This is the power of Magician. Like, this is a better hand. This is going to end on an even crazier board. This is an amazing hand. Pure Magicians are so broken with Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. I love it. It's beautiful. It's so good. And in the case where you're drawn to a brick, you can either keep it in hand and try to use Phoenix, or you can just pen summon it and use it as material for an Appaloosa, a Hulk, a Masquerena. Right, so you have Dagda, Hulk, Masquerena, Verte, Appo. You have 5 ways to turn spare monsters into interruptions, which is so incredible, so powerful. This deck is amazing. I love this deck. It's so good. The Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, the Fusion Destiny package in Pure Magicians is so good. I'm absolutely loving it. Maiden's an interesting pick. I'm not using Selene that much. I might be able to take it out. I might be able to take out IP Unicorn. One big weakness here is that your extra deck is pretty tight. You're having trouble fitting everything. You do want Tornado Dragon to make your Scythe even more reliable, because Scythe wins games on its own. But at the same time, you want this to make your Star Pen Graph more reliable. Granted, this card isn't actually... I only play one of it, but I keep drawing it, so maybe I'm just being sort of weird here. Probably don't need this. I probably don't need this to resolve that much, because I'm only playing one anyways. But in the present situation, I'm constantly drawing this, so I do want ways to use it. I want Zeus. I do want Zeus. But right now I don't have the space. I might find the space for Zeus. Zeus makes my going second potential skyrocket. Because now, any 2 level 4s, I just win. But even just without it, right, any 2 monsters can make Phoenix Enforcer, which will let me grind through them. So this deck's very powerful. I love this deck. I love this deck. It's so good. And I think that this will be an incredibly fun format because we have so many amazing decks to build. There are some honorable mentions I'd like to bring up as well, which includes Virtual World, Sword Soul, since the levels kind of match up and there's potential there. Problem, I don't know how to build this deck. Another problem, it seems even brickier than regular Virtual World, which is a problem. Another potential, a Dragon Link. Now, I've never liked Dragon Link. I don't think it's that good, but Double Disruptor, like, this card's insane. I don't know if you can actually use it, though. Calibur's insane. It's a rocket that's an extender. That's crazy. And Phoenix Enforcer package? Question mark? Maybe. So Dragon Link, I think, has potential, but not seeing it, really. I don't think it's practical. And obviously Drytron and Tri-Brigade will still exist. Those are sort of maybe still some of the best decks, but I don't think Tri-Brigades are very good. I don't think they can compete with Live Twins, with Sword Souls. And in the case of Drytron, I mean, Endemian's just better. That's my take. Endemian's just better. And finally, a couple other guys to consider. Zodiacs. Okay, you're gonna struggle against Blackout. You're gonna struggle against Phoenix Enforcer. Sort of mildly, but like, you have all the tools right here to deal with them. Right? You have these, you can deal with it. And alongside Zodiac, another deck, Magical Musketeers. Apex Predation is one of the best cards I've read. This card's really good. I mean, Magical Musketeers, you can't really afford to torrential yourself. You lose too much advantage. But you can definitely afford to torrential the opponent without torrentialing yourself, you know? So, I think this deck has some mad potential, man. Like, normal summon and then set or not, it doesn't even matter. Set if you want. And then you just win. And it's really simple. You get to play all the overpowered traps. And now you actually have a board wipe to take advantage of. And I don't know why I don't have Trap Trick in this deck. That seems like a travesty, but yeah, you can play D-Shifter in here. Like, this deck can just do what it wants, and I think it has a lot of potential. Not sure. A lot more videos coming up, depending on if I'm able to perfect these decks, right? And if I'm able to craft a new deck that's even more insane. The current most insane deck I have, by the way, is this ridiculous unreasonable that I have titled Fusion, which is go second Zodiac, Phoenix Enforcer Turbo. And honestly, this deck's kind of insane. Like, it's actually pretty cracked. You can just sort of go off with it. And you play Zodiacs, but if you get 2 monsters, you can also just make Phoenix Enforcer. That's starting them here, because I'm playing Fall and Malbaz before, but obviously we're not doing that anymore. And this is pretty crazy, actually. There's potential here, I think. I think there's a lot of potential here. Like, sort of like pure Zodiac, but Fusion Destiny is an insane go second spell, honestly. And you get extra, you get grind game with the draw too. For sure. Like, you burn through your hand with Zodiacs pretty quick, so having that grind game's nice. And like, yeah, imagine you go second with this, you just go off on them, and then Danger plus your whatever can go into Phoenix Enforcer if they're good against Zeus, and if they're not good against Zeus, you just kill them with Zeus. This deck has it. This deck has it, so... yeah, it's the most insane deck I have right now. But, we're on the road to making more insane ones, I think. So with all that being said, I think the video's long enough. That's me all for today, guys. Take care, y'all. Goodbye.